You know, everyone wants to pretend that there's a huge difference between the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. You know, I'm sure you guys have heard it. Everybody argues back and forth. It's this big fanboy propaganda stuff. Oh, T-flops, 12 T-flops, 10 T-flops. No, it's really 9.2 T-flops. 1174 T-flops. You know, I mean, honestly, I would think that most of us don't know and probably don't really care. Other than the fact that, hey, maybe your piece of plastic has the more T-flops attached to it, despite the fact that developers and tech people, you know, people in the industry are actually saying, hey, you know, the T-flops don't really matter. There's variations depending on what the hardware setup is. And, you know, obviously with Microsoft likely having two consoles, one with 12 T-flops and one they're saying between 4 and something T-flops, you know, it's kind of ridiculous if you're a Microsoft fan to tout that T-flops are the be-all end-all when 99% of the people that will probably own an Xbox next generation will own the lesser version, just like the Xbox One S. You know, more people own that than the X. So it really doesn't make any sense to hype up T-flops and hate on the PS5 when it's going to have far more than the Xbox Series S or L or whatever the heck they're going to call it. But in this instance, developer is strictly talking about the differences, and they're going to say that they probably won't matter in the long run. This is from the Hellpoint developer. This is very interesting because, like I said, we're hearing a lot more about these consoles and what they can do, and a lot of people are talking about the differences in T-flops, and, you know, is it going to really make a huge difference? And we've had multiple developers come out and say, hey, it's not really going to do that, especially with today's GPUs. How are those flops used? This person says that if there's any dedicated physics cores or audio processing or neural networks, and let's not start on ray tracing, doesn't matter if you have twice the flops but can only use half of them, right? So when asked if they would matter, he says probably not. Previous consoles always had this kind of difference, especially the PlayStation, which always tended to have tweaks and hardware-specific accelerations. So, you know, he's not wrong. If you look back, the PlayStation 2 was much less powerful than the original Xbox. And while the PlayStation 3, it's kind of debatable whether it was more powerful than the 360, it certainly was harder to program for, and, you know, they had the cell processor and things like that, so that was an issue in and of itself. So the fact that you have developers, and I will link this article in the description so you can check it out, saying that the T-flop difference won't matter in the long run, I think that pretty much says all you need to know on the subject. Again, we can't be armchair developers or, you know, console creators and engineers when we haven't actually done it. And as far as I can tell, most of the people that are running these podcasts and talking about this stuff haven't done either of that stuff. So it's going to be, like I said, very interesting. And again, they point out, especially PlayStation in this instance, which always tends to have tweaks and hardware specific accelerations. I think that's exactly what Sony's going to count on, and people are kind of looking at it as a disadvantage for Sony. I don't look at it as a disadvantage for Sony. I look at it as a, you know, Sony has really kind of brought a console for next generation that's going to be a well-rounded console, while Microsoft more or less went for the raw power aspect of it. And, you know, I think that's going to work out well for them, and I think what Sony does is going to work out well for them, especially if they can come in at a cheaper price than the Xbox Series X. But like I said, I'm going to link this. Let me know what you guys think. Please like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Thanks for watching. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.